are coming to you live from the Royal Oath Insurance Group right here in Clinton Township, Michigan. Big shout out to the entire team here. Royal Oath is more than just an insurance agent. They're your promise keepers. Whether it's auto, home, business, life, or health insurance, they're here to protect what matters to you most. You can check them out at royaloathinsurance.com or give them a call at 586-238-3535. And, of course, today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends at Connection, the CRM built for closers. If you're a real estate agent, entrepreneur, or small business owner looking to automate, follow up, and close more deals and stay top of mind, then Connection is your secret weapon. Go to yourconnection.com and take control of your pipeline today. Now, whether you're tuning in live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, or X, catching the replay on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you stream, we're glad you're here. Do me a favor, hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this with a friend, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. All right, guys, let's get locked in. We've got a powerhouse show lined up today, and if you're in business or real estate or just building something big, this one is for you. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back into the Elite Real Estate Podcast, where I am joined by a very special guest this morning, Vija Williams. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
I am fantastic. And so for those of you that don't know you, you have done a lot of things in the industry, and you are a powerhouse in the real estate industry and in the game. For those of you that don't know, so you're now the chief growth officer at realty.com. And now I call you a friend, but now I call you a colleague too.
Yeah, that's right. We work together now.
Yeah. So, which is very exciting stuff. It's when we first had the discussion about realty.com, I was super excited to even have the opportunity to, coaching is one of the things that I love to do. And I know that's your wheelhouse too.
Yeah, it's one of them. I coaching and consulting and teaching and training, all of it is completely my wheelhouse. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so how did you get started in the business? Like, what made you get real estate? What was the real estate thing?
Well, I'm second generation. So my dad started one of the nation's first builder services companies in the late 70s. So what that means, a fancy way of saying, he got builders and developers to hire him and his company to do the sales and marketing of their product. Because back in the day, they would do it in-house. They wouldn't hire third-party real estate brokers, which sounds funny now. But back then, it wasn't really done. And so he had come from an advertising background, and so kind of came to it from that. So I grew up in real estate. I grew up with builders and developers and all things real estate. And then when I got into real estate, I just realized that he got me into the house. He got me into the hallway, and I just chose another door. My door was resale real estate primarily, just my skill set, my talents. I just, working with builders and developers on those large developments is pretty, it's pretty management heavy. It's kind of, it's just a different type of a deal. I was much more of an entrepreneur. And so I started as a solo agent in a really strong local independent here in Seattle. And then, gosh, I can't remember when, maybe 2011 or 2012, I moved to a then pretty unknown brokerage called Keller Williams. And, my last name is Williams. And so it was so unknown that everyone's like, where did you go? Did you start your own brokerage? I was like, I wish. Because I think when I started, I don't even know, they had 30, 40, 50,000 agents or something. Now I think they have like 190,000, to just give you an idea. So I went there and started a team. And I remember it was a horrible market when I went. It was like, I don't even remember what year it was, 2010, maybe 2011. It was a really, really bad market.
To be in real estate back then, right?
Oh, goodness. It was a struggle bus at the time. And I remember, I went to one of their big events. It was called Family Reunion. There was like, I don't even know, 10,000 people there. And I was like, you could have a team to do this? I'd never heard of it, ever. Didn't even know. I was like, what? I just thought you go and sell real estate. Like, you can have people selling for you. What? I was just blown away. And we didn't have Zoom back then. Right. We didn't have podcasts back then. So, I just got on a plane and, I just started traveling and learning. I was like, I have a lot to learn. I started taking classes, going to whatever event I could go to, that would teach me. And so I started a team. I remember I did 9.6 million in volume one year. and, started just a horrible first year starting a team. I failed in every way. I think I went through 4 assistants, you know what I mean? Like, just couldn't figure out how to hire an agent, whatever. And I did 25 million that year. So I went
Wow.
from 9 million to 25 million, and I got a call from someone at Gary Keller's office who worked for Gary Keller, one of his assistants. And she goes, what did you do? You've 2.5x on a year that most people are going down. I was like, oh, I did. Like, it feels like a, what show.
Right.
Like, I did? I didn't even know. I was like,
how it can feel that way, right?
yeah. And I was like, well, that proves right there that a team is where it's at. Because even bumbling through a horrendous first year, if I could go from 9 to 25, what could I do if it actually goes well?
Yeah.
So I went from 25 million, 36 million, 48, 70 million. It was like really fast, and I loved it. I learned how to grow a team. It was blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, I hated it too. But I loved it and hated it. And so I did that. And then in 2018, and all this time I was in Ben Kinney's Keller Williams office. He owned the franchise. And finally he's like, will you just please come and run all of my brokerages? And I said, yeah, that sounds like a cool next step for me, So I kind of sunsetted the team, which was pretty surprising to everybody because 70 million back then is probably about $140 million team now. It's pretty big. Pretty
and
big.
no short sales now.
No short sales. I didn't do any short sales or anything. No. Back then I didn't even we were at like 100 to 130 units a year consistently, which may not sound like a lot, but in Seattle, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lower unit count here and a high average price point. So I kind of shut it all down and learned how to run brokerages, which was so much fun. Such a great and tough gig.
Yeah.
So I went and did that, and then from there I moved over to Place, which is his company he started, and all we worked on was teams. We were brokerage agnostic and worked with teams. So I was a head of industry for that, which was a really cool role that was created for me. And then last year moved over to Realty as a CGO. So every career move has kind of been like, the next logical step, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the amazing part is like it's being willing to take that risk too, right? You could have just stayed a team leader and been fine, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's actually, looking back, I mean, for anyone here, selling real estate and being a real estate team leader, successful one, you're probably making more money than anybody at corporate. So it's the way to go. Unless, it just wasn't my path. Like it just was not, my path was definitely the one I'm on. But yeah.
Yeah. It's different for everybody, and mine is not the same either. I got hired as a productivity coach before I had a real estate license. So,
that's interesting. Now that's a story.
Yeah, that's a story in itself. Yeah. I got hired as a productivity coach at a Keller Williams office here in Detroit, and it was I didn't have a license yet, but I had come out of the banking world of mortgage banking and coaching bankers into like putting up business plans together for real estate agents, which was a little bit different. But I did audition for the role, and they were like, all right, we want to hire you. And I said, and they knew going into it that I didn't have a license. So they paid for my licensing because they're like, we can't have a productivity coach that doesn't have a license. So here I am, a little more than
Here you are
12 years later. And this is what I'm doing. But coaching's always kind of been in my bloodstream. You know what I mean? It's always been there. And it seems like that's kind of been in yours too, right? Like this leadership, the mentorship, like helping people get better. That seems like it's always been in your DNA too.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, I mean, coaching and consulting has been a part of everything I just described to you. Like if you look at running a real estate team, you're coaching a lot of agents, you're coaching your own agents. If you look at, running brokerages, you're coaching teams and agents because you're really focused on, at that point, we had 15 to 1,700 agents at a given time. So, as a GM of all of it, my job was really focused on the top kind of 10 to 20%.
Yeah.
Which means, I effectively end up being a coach and friend to the top 10 to 20%, and all the team leaders, all the branch managers running the office, right? And so that's part of it there. You're also a consultant. That was definitely where I learned financials. I went into that role not really understanding a lot about P&Ls. I mean, I understood enough to read them because I had my own, but um, this is interesting actually. So I took that role. This is a good story for people who don't feel like they're ready to take on something, but you want to, right? And I think a lot of women, I'm not, I'm sure men too, but women tend to wait until they're ready to say yes to a role or an opportunity. And men tend to jump in a little bit before they're ready. And I say that with admiration. I say that in a complimentary way to men, right? And so as women, sometimes we're more reluctant to take on things unless we know them. And so I kind of jumped into this role going, look, I feel like I don't know, I don't feel ready, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I hadn't even run one office, and Ben wanted me to run 6. And then we went through some acquisitions. We ended up with 8 and 8 franchises, 12 offices, right? It was pretty big.
Oh my God.
And so about a year in, I ended up taking a Harvard Business School online financial accounting class. I haven't told that many people that because I was like, I gotta learn this. Like, I need to learn it at a way higher level. And it was the best thing I ever did. I think I spent $1,500 on the class or something. And it was so helpful to this day. I love reading P&Ls. I can analyze them. Like, I'm pretty good now. And I can look at them in a different way, in a more sophisticated way. I can understand more of what I'm seeing. I can help people rearrange things. I can help them. I mean, it's a different level. So I think that's a good story for people because it's a good example of I knew enough to get started, but I also knew that I needed to know more, to kind of go to the next level and really fulfill the job. So I just did what I had to do,
Yeah.
In fact, I have another story. And it has to do with what you and I do at Realty. I was interviewing an agent in Houston, and this was about 3 weeks ago. And she had taken 7 of our realty.com seller leads, and she had actually 8 agreements signed. She had 8 agreements signed from 7 leads. So I asked her team leader, I was like, can I talk to her? Because that's pretty amazing. And so I got her on the phone and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So she started walking me through. She's like, well, I first thing I did is I went to your training 4 months ago. That was the first thing I did. I'd never heard of these type of leads. We have a particular type of lead that Jimmy and I work with, and they're called cash offer seller leads. She goes, I'd never heard of them, never worked them, haven't really worked a lot of online leads. She had done some with another company, but they were mainly buyers. And so she said, the first thing I learned was what you did. And so I did exactly what you said, and I got the appointments. When I got to the appointment, then I started realizing I needed more tools in my tool belt. So I just started asking my team leader, and I started spending a lot of time on YouTube. I would put my kids to bed. She's a single mom, put my kids to bed, and then I'd be on YouTube for hours, just learning all these things. She goes, for example, the last deal I did, it was a $1.2 million listing that I double-ended. And I double-ended it with a sub-2 buyer. And I was like, I've never even done a sub-2. Like, did you know what sub-2s were? She goes, nope, not until a couple months ago. But I heard you guys talking about it. I heard other people talking about it, asked my team lead about it, got on YouTube. And, it's a pretty simple concept, actually. So so I guess my point in saying that story is that she just dove in. And she is crushing it and, knew enough to know, okay, can I do the first step, which is convert the leads? Yeah, I think I can try that. And then when she did, she's like, all right, now I'm at their living rooms. Now I need to learn the next step, which is get better at having multiple exits and multiple tools in my tool belt, right? And I think that's kind of what I did for that job when I was president of Brokerages. I knew enough to get started, certainly, but I needed to learn way more. And the best way to learn it is on the job, getting your reps in, making mistakes and, screwing up, right? So I think for all of us, it's a good lesson.
Yeah. I love those stories so much because it really resonates with the audience because we all do have a lot of this analysis paralysis, right? Am I ready? Am I not ready? Right. It even boils down to the easiest part when an agent first gets in the business, and they're worried about their business card or their logo or, the LLC name or, whatever and it's really just a delay process to actually start doing the business. Right.
Getting ready to get ready to get ready.
Always getting ready to get ready. Right. My hair's not right yet. Like all the things I need a good headshot. I need all these things. And, to me, it's like figuring out, all right, get a sale first, right? Like
Totally.
start talking to
Totally.
people first, and then find somebody to help you write a contract, right? Like
Yeah.
you should be surrounded with people that can be able to help you do that stuff. But you're the only one that's able to actually go get the business. You know what I mean? And I think that's hard for
100%.
agents.
For agents and for team leads, I would say this. I would say that there's so much emphasis when you get into a traditional brokerage, right? And this is where you and I are brand agnostic. We work with all the brokerages.
Yep.
And you get in, and the first thing they want to teach you is what? They want to teach you all the forms,
Yep.
all the contingencies, inspection periods, all the forms. Then you might have a specialist come to your office meetings talking about septic systems or whatever, right? And I'm like, no. The only thing you really need to learn is how to get an appointment, because the hardest thing in real estate, the hardest, number one hardest part of real estate is getting an appointment with a qualified buyer or a qualified seller. Once you get that, I do not know a brokerage or a team who's not going to pour into you, even go on the appointment with you and help you with the things you need to know. And I'm also not saying don't learn them. I mean, you got to learn them, right? But I'm also
Yeah.
saying if you learn all those first, you need to learn how to get an appointment first. That's the first step. Then you can learn all of that. You can get mastery in that, right? So there's this point where you're just always needing to look for your next domino instead of looking for the 7th or 10th domino, right? In fact, that's a life philosophy for me, which is, I call it embracing the process and not getting tied up to the outcome. I just fully focus on the process and decide what that is, spend a lot of time actually getting clarity on what that is. And when I do, I'm always aware of like what the right next step is. How can I do it the right way? How do I know if I've won the next step? How do I
Yeah.
know that next step is effective? What's the outcome I want from that step, right? And that takes a long time. It takes a very patient amount of time for us impatient souls, me being one of them. But once you do that and you adhere to that, then you can just continue to focus on your next domino. That's going to knock over your next domino. And it's not to say that you're not sneaking in some classes on the way. I certainly don't want to encourage being a sloppy agent.
Right.
And you just don't need a PhD in that stuff, because the only way to really learn it is in the field. And when you're doing it, and the reason we're on teams, the reason we're in brokerages is because we have people that can help us with it.
Yeah, 100%. I just, it's funny how you're spot on with the hardest thing to do is find a qualified client, right? Like that's, if we could all figure out how to get an instant qualified client, that's what we would all do. Like that's what we would all do. But the thing is, we have spent so much time coaching and teaching and doing all these things, and really it's about just having a conversation with people and talking to them and telling them that you're the real estate agent, right? One of the best things that I got from Gary Keller was everybody I meet knows I'm a real estate agent, right? Like everybody I shake a hand with knows I'm a real estate agent. That's just how it comes out.
They also have to know, like, and trust you. And they have to, you have to have credibility. It's interesting because I do work with a lot of teams. So I'm a little biased towards teams, just so everyone understands my perspective. I am biased towards teams because I've just worked with so many solo agents and teams, and 90% of effort, energy, finances, everything we do in real estate is geared towards one thing, which is getting an appointment with a qualified buyer or seller. And teams only charge 50-50 split. Usually it's around there on company leads. It's a deal. It's a bargain, because most agents will hardly have the opportunity to have an appointment with a buyer or a seller. And so if you are a solo agent and you're doing that on your own, you're amazing. Like, I really honor you. Like, any agent doing 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 deals without getting leads from a team or whatnot, like, I really am in awe. I am, I'm in awe of it. I think you guys are amazing. Not to say that you can't pay for leads and get all of those. It's hard to do all of it on your own. It's hard to do that without support and a whole crew behind you. So I'm really in awe of solo agents that are thriving on their own. I couldn't do it very well. I got to about 24 deals a year and was tearing my hair out. I wasn't organized enough. I couldn't, my ceiling was low before I had to have an assistant. I've had some people who don't even hire an assistant to like 48, 50 deals. I'm like, no, not me. That's just not where
Yeah.
I'm wired, no.
Yeah.
So
I'm in
yeah.
the boat with you. Like, it's like everybody gets into real estate for the freedom of it, right? Which you can have if you do your scheduling correctly.
Mhm.
But at the same point, like, I was as a solo agent, I was doing 4 to 6 deals a month, right? Like, and everything was good, but then I was working on Sundays just doing paperwork because all my paperwork was screwed up. I was like, why am
Oh
I?
yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
I had
everything
a
was messed up.
transaction coordinator from my second transaction in real estate. I mean, I learned fast. I was like, oh no, I'm not the person to open escrow and do all this stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You learned, and you probably learned this from your dad too, like leveraging people, right? Like
Mhm.
leveraging people that are good at what they do. Let me just use that person, right? And let me frees me up to do other things. And I think, to your point, I'm big on teams too. And I think, especially for new agents, I think a team is the best place to go because
Yeah.
you have to kind of learn what's even going on. You know what I mean? And I'm a big proponent of agents interviewing the team or the broker, right? They're not interviewing
Mhm.
me as the agent. I'm interviewing them because I want to know
Yeah.
who's going to give me the most help and who's going to put those tools in my tool belt.
Yeah. Agreed. I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
Mm.
teams, I think teams are great. It's again, especially depends on the team and whatever else. But to me, like the brokerage is the brokerage, right? That which one's going to give me the best tools or whatever else. But people are going to use me because of me. It doesn't matter if I'm in a hot air balloon or have a gold jacket on. It really doesn't matter. They're going to use me for me. It doesn't matter what brokerage I'm with. And I know you're in the same boat with that.
Yeah, it's the people. It's who you're in proximity with, who's going to help you get to your preferred future. And so the brokerage matters as far as who's there. The brand no longer matters. The brand hasn't mattered in years to the consumer.
No.
The consumer doesn't even know anymore. With the way real estate is pushed out, the brand no longer is a factor. But it does matter. I think it matters because it matters who you're with and who's giving you time. Who you're in close proximity with, who's training you, who's mentoring you, whatever your arrangement is. So I do think it matters in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a big piece for agents to understand is, again, getting into where you're going to feel supported, where people can help you fill out this contract, right? But you still have to have the motor to go out and talk to people and call people. And like call reluctance is so big. And, um, you know, I- because personal feelings get involved, right? Like to me, if you hang up on me, I just move to the next one. It doesn't really bother me. But I cut my teeth selling mortgages. You know what I mean? So it was 600 dials a day. It was that was
Yeah.
nothing. So me getting hung up on doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I will say this about that. I hear you. And also, the game has changed in my mind.
Mhm.
And I don't know that I would advocate cold calling anymore. I don't think it's really smart to do in this day and age. I'm not a proponent of it. I think that looking for opt-in and attraction and inbound opportunities is the way to go and the way of the future.
Yeah, I don't disagree. There's there's a million ways to prospect now, right? There's a
Yeah.
million ways to prospect now. It doesn't have to be the old school 600 dials a day. But again, it's figuring out how to do that, right? Social media, everybody goes social media. I want to get my leads from social media. You can absolutely do that, but it's not just going and throwing a couple posts out there. It's actually
It's a
working.
whole thing. It's a whole thing, and it takes
Yeah,
hours a day to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so right now, and like right now, today, if you were starting over right now today, what would be your first look for a lead or a client? Where
Mhm.
would you first go?
Well, and I'm not saying this, by the way, I'm not saying this because you and I work at realty.com. So I want to preface it by that. In fact, I will answer this with a little bit of a story. And that is how I came to realty.com. Because 2 years ago, because by the way, I did start my team over just now. And I can tell you what I'm doing. So I can actually answer that question real. So when I sunsetted my team, and when I became head of industry at Place, I kind of loosely started it up again with my brother because I really had a full time job. I knew that I didn't have the bandwidth, right, to do that. So my brother and I had this team, and he had a full time job, and I had a full. So it really wasn't going very well. I mean, as it wouldn't, right? I mean, a real estate team needs a full time person running it. So I got a call from a friend of mine who had his company is an iBuyer. And he said, "Hey, we're wanting to come to Washington State. Would you your team pilot iBuying in Washington State? We've never done it there. You have a higher price point and whatnot." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity." So I asked my brother. I said, "Hey, can I jump in and kind of take the lead on this?" He's like, "All yours." And I just had this instinct, and I just got obsessed with it. I trained. I was on the phone converting myself. I was training my agents. I was talking to them on the phone during appointments, you name it. And we started crushing it. We did really, really well. I ended up leaving. When I left, I gave my team to my brother. That was kind of part of the deal. So I had to kind of let that go. And so when I got reconnected with Lance last year, I was like, well, I didn't realize Realty.com had cash offer seller leads. They changed my business. I think they're the future of real estate. I am obsessed with them because I now understand the consumer, and I understand that they're going to do 6 or 7 things before they even call a realtor now. They're going to get on Zillow. They're going to get on Chat GPT. They're going to get on Claude. They're going to get on and request a cash offer to the tune of, you and I both know, 150,000 consumers a month get on Realty.com or one of our affiliated websites and request a cash offer. So we know the consumer is changing. So I was like, they're amazing. And he ended up hiring me. The long story short, that's how it happened. So I didn't come to Realty and get converted. I was converted on cash offer leads and then got hired at Realty. So, to be clear, that's what I am doing, and that's what I would do, because I think it is the new way to get the consumer before they're ready to call a real estate agent. If we can get our marketing and our word out ahead of time and have them reach out to us ahead of time for our home valuations, for, our cash offers, ideally for AI, any of their AI searches they're doing as well, then that's what we need to do. That's number one. Number two, with regards to social media, if somebody consumes 7 hours of your content, they will buy anything from you. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. That's actually a statistic I didn't know.
7 hours. So it's like a race to get to 7 hours. So obviously YouTube and podcasts like you're doing and all of these are great because 30 and 60-minute chunks are much better to get to that point than 3-minute reels, right? That said, my social media, I started working with a social media coach, and he is, I have to post 1 to 3 times a day, posts, not stories, which is the hardest thing I've ever done. It is so incredibly hard. You have to very much be at peace with not a lot of views, not a lot of likes, and some of the posts. When you're posting at that volume, they just don't all fly. So you have to post at a really high volume, and then you have to do a whole bunch of lead generation. And in my case, I'm doing recruiting, right? Where I'm bringing them into my funnel now. So I'm bringing them into that. I'm bringing them onto my YouTube. There's a lot of cash offer content on my Instagram right now and on my Facebook right now. So that's what I'm doing. I'm tying it all together with social media. But social media is a part-time job, make no mistake. This isn't just me posting periodically. It is a very, oh my goodness, like you're planning content. There's you'll see on there, 1 to 3 times a day is a lot. Sometimes I'll do one on my story, by the way. And sometimes I'll post personal stuff on there. The personal stuff actually is good.
Yeah.
Because it gets people to kind of know you and stuff. So that is what I'm doing, and that is what I would do.
Yeah. And in 3 times a day is a lot. Like,
I don't always hit it, by the way. It's 1 to 3 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah. But
so much.
So I did it a few years ago where we said we had to post at least once a day, right? Like every day you had to post something. It's hard. It's hard for material, what you're putting out.
It's so hard.
So hard. Right? It's so hard. People are like, oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, do it for 5 to 6 days and then tell me how day 7 is.
It's so hard.
And tell you day 30 and then tell me how day 30 is, right?
But the idea is that, the idea is that your feed becomes a resume. And so when someone gets into your funnel and a client introduces you or whatever, there's just so much content there that they consume enough to get to know you and kind of make up their mind, right? And they also view you as an authority on whatever you're posting. So I've been trained on 3 pillars. For me, it's team content, cash offer content, and then personal. you should be, I try as much as I can to show success stories of people thriving in my world. Sometimes that's a coaching client, because I do coach. I have private coaching clients. Team leads are who I coach. I don't coach individual agents, but I try to put wins in there and celebrate them as much as I can. And some educational content, some of it's just goofy. Like some of it's just goofy stuff, just personal stuff. Like if you look at my story today, I mean, it's just, I have a funny puppet from I went to a Pink Floyd show last night, and there was like this weird puppet, weird stuff. Don't even.
I'm glad you could make it after going to a Pink Floyd concert. You know what I mean?
It wasn't really Pink Floyd, because they're not, but it was like the Australian Pink Floyd. That's good.
But you're right, and that was the very interesting piece to me with Realty.com as well, was these seller leads and how we go about them, right? And having a conversation with Lance to start it off with, I was like, wait a minute, I did the same thing you did. Tell me that again. Like, let me hear that again, right? And then you hear the success stories, and you and I get to hear the success stories and help people find these. But it is true. Like if you could start over again, that's again, a lead source, social media, right? Get your name out there as much as possible. And I think that's the other biggest thing. Don't worry about as much as what the actual content is. It just has to be out. You know what I mean? Like everybody worries about how it looks or whatever else, but the more important thing is just getting it out there.
It's not so much, I think you do need to be purposeful. The goal would be that when you come to your feed, when you come to my feed, you kind of need to know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at your favorite accounts that you get on Instagram or Facebook, you kind of know what you're going to get, right? You're going to get, fashion. You're going to get F1 race cars. You're going to get whatever you're going to get. And so, you do need to have 2 or 3 pillars. What you don't need to worry about is how polished they are. In fact, most of my iPhone stuff works better than the professional stuff, actually.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy.
It's crazy because you spend a lot of money on the polished, processed, edited, all those nice things. But I think it kind of comes back to the fact that when people are trying to decide who they want to work with, they want to know the real person. They want to know the real Vija.
For sure.
Right? They want to know who you are. Like they want to know the real Jimmy. They don't want, I always joke and I'm like, I'm not a 3-piece suit guy, right? Like it's a funeral or a wedding. Like that's the 3-piece suit comes out for those couple things.
Yeah.
Now, sports coats and whatever else, I hardly ever go with a tie anymore. But at the same, I did corporate world for so long. I kicked the tie as soon as I possibly could. But I feel like that's the clients I want to attract too, right? Like I want to find that avatar client that's going to fit with me, because I know 90% of those people are going to be easy to work with because that we find an alignment somewhere.
Yeah, ideal client profile, ideal customer profile, ICP or avatar. I have a worksheet I give to all my clients. It's one of the first things I do with them for recruiting and or for clients. And we build that out, and that's really who you're posting to. You're posting to that person. Give me a second. Sorry about that. You're posting for that person. You're not posting for 1,000 people.
Right.
So you're talking to your ICP and you're talking to your avatar. And, what happens is you do get people that are outside of that for sure. I mean, I do. It's surprising actually how many people I get outside of that. But as long as I keep posting for them, that's what works the best. A lot of the times your ICP, depending if you're recruiting, is the agent you were before you started a team, And, for agents, if you're looking at, if you're young, if you're 23 and you just got out of college, you're probably looking for, buyers or people. You just have to think about who's going to be the easiest, right? What's going to not be swimming upstream. I mean, I don't choose difficult, right? So you're just choosing the easiest person that's going to be your potential client.
I love that. Don't choose difficult.
Yeah.
I
just, there's so many low hanging fruit in most things in life. Why not go for those first?
Yeah. And if that's the thing. It's, work in the 90 percentile. 10% of the people aren't going to work with me anyway. that's okay, right? If I can get to my 90, I'm good.
Well, and the other thing when you talk about any marketing, email marketing, social media marketing, the thing to remember too is 3 to 5% are going to be ready to make a decision at most, if even that much. So the fact is, the other 90%, 95% don't alienate them. So you do need to have content in there that keeps it interesting for them so they don't just tune you out, right?
Yeah.
So you really do need to post good stuff. You just need to give value. As long as you're giving value, people will come back to you as long as it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, NAR did the statistics that, they did a survey and 87, I think it was 87% of the people that bought a house said they would use the same real estate agent a second time or a third time.
Mm.
But only 20% actually do because they forget who the agent is.
Yeah.
Right. They don't know because we do a terrible job of staying in front of our clients, past, present, future. We do a terrible job mainly of mostly the past clients. We do a really bad job of staying in front of past clients.
Oh, totally.
And
totally, because it takes organization, it takes, a database, it
right.
takes a 36 touch, 100%.
Yeah. And so do you just relate that to that's just how it is with real estate agents, or how do you coach and with team leaders and stuff and get them to stay in front of them?
That's a really good question. And I'm pretty, my coaching style is that, Jimmy, I'm pretty pragmatic. I mean, I don't think we're going to change human behavior very easily. So, what I typically coach to is, agents are never going to do it. So as a team lead, you need to offer them and do for them what they wouldn't do on their own. And so the focusing question I ask my team leads a lot are, what could you do for your agent such that by doing it, they could sell 3 times more to their own database than they could on their own? Because we know on their own, the average agent doesn't even have a CRM. If they do, they're not sending 36 touch out. Most of them don't have a really sophisticated open house login that's going into automation, that's going into follow-up and accountability for the follow-up, right? And audits on their CRM and all of that, right? So what can you do? I tell my team leads all the time, you have to back into that. So, okay, what are the things you could do for their database such that by doing, they could sell 3x with you more than them? So you could, do you have a video set up every week where you have your team meeting? Do you have video scripts and a green screen and a video set up where you have someone editing their videos for them? Do you have incredible emails going out every month that says, this is where Sammy is, this is where Janie is, this is where Johnny is? These are all of our open houses this weekend. These are all of our listings that we sold. These are all the things that makes it look like it's upping their credibility. Do you have client events that they can invite their clients to? Do you, are you helping with as much social media done for you as possible, right? And that's where I'm pushing my teams is to think that way, is to think about they're giving so much value to an agent, not even with leads. Nothing I said was with leads. Like, how is your training and accountability for their prospecting and their networking? Is it so good that if they left you, they're just not going to do it? Because the humans typically won't do it, right? Unless they have someone checking on them and whatnot. So I'm a really big believer in that. That as a team lead, you have to ask yourself the focusing question: how can I 3x an agent's business on their own leads? Not even including my leads, on their own leads, on their self-gen, right? And I think that's probably where most teams need a little bit of help, where they might fall short. Where they're doing a good job typically is, they're supplying their leads. They have pretty good lead conversion codes behind that and processes, right? They're maybe not doing the best job helping the agents on their own self-gen business. And most agents could double their business on a team, I'm saying, with that support and with that help.
Yeah. And again, that to me, that goes back to when you're an agent, whether you're new or have been in it for a while, if you're thinking about a brokerage change or a team change or whatever, you need to be interviewing them and asking them these questions that Vija is bringing up right now. Like, what does this monthly look like for me? What's going to help me build my business, right? And I think because again, I love teams. I think teams are fantastic. And I again, given the right support systems and everything else, but I think that's huge for agents to understand what they're looking for. But even to your point, that team lead needs to understand how to keep them, because we see a lot
Hmm.
of teams with just constant turnover, right?
Yeah.
It's just like they're just bringing in the next agent who got their license, breathe on this glass. Okay, you made the steam. Now we're gonna, now we're hiring you,
Well,
right?
you know how I know that? Because it was me. When I first started my team, I was like that. There's a learning curve. It's, you kind of stumble through it, and I actually give a lot of grace to team leads going through that. I've been there. If you're not doing that, I don't know if you're trying. I mean, but no one wants that. No one
Right.
wants that, and the goal is to get past that. I do think that done for you is much more a future than done with you. And what I mean by that is it's not enough in most markets and most competitive markets anyway, in most cases now, for a team lead to kind of instructionally tell an agent what to do without doing some of it for them, right? Some of
Mm.
the things that I gave an example for. Like, at the end of the day, your agent's going to have to film the video that they put on social media, but can you help them with a script and or a topic? Can you help them edit it? So, that's what I mean by that. Obviously, you can't, do something for an agent, but if you can do things in the back end that they realistically wouldn't do on their own, it's the best recruiting and retention tool there is.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And I think that's a huge piece for team leaders and such, because it, again, to your point, the agent eventually has to do something, right? That whether
Mhm.
that's just record the video or do whatever. But if as
Well, the
much is
agent has
done
to make
for
the
them.
calls, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
have to make the calls and whatnot, but are you providing, really good accountability, really good automation, really good follow-ups, and whatnot? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Build out campaigns, all those kind of things. And that's one of the things that we're helping agents do right now with realty, is
Right.
we're helping them
Yeah.
build out their campaigns, and 17 touches in 30 days and all those kind of things. So that makes it a lot better with these leads too. So I think the biggest piece for agents to get out of this too is that you have to do something.
Well, yes, Jimmy, yes, that is the biggest thing for them to get out.
It sounds corny, right? It sounds
No, it's
corny.
true. No, it's true. It was just so funny. I'm like, well, yes, they do have to do something. They have to
Yeah,
do a
we got to do
lot. It,
something.
it is really a lot of work to be successful in real estate, and if anybody here is in just starting or thinking about it, it's a phenomenal career and industry, as Jimmy and I can attest to. And it is a lot of work. So if you think it's not, it's just not the right field for you. There's a reason many people in our industry make six figures. And if you look at other industries, doctors, lawyers, other industries where they make really good money, there's 3, 4, 5, 6 years of schooling, hundreds of thousands in debt.
Yeah.
So, you're really in school. And that's the way it is when you start off in real estate. I mean, it's our own version of our hard knocks masters.
Yeah. You know what? I've never heard that's a great analogy. Like,
Mhm.
you're in
Yeah.
school. Like, when you first get your license, that's like your schooling.
Mhm.
I really like that analogy. That's
I tell agents all the time, your first year in real estate, you'll probably lose money, even if you do well. And, you have to be willing to move through that. You have to be willing to drive Uber, do what it takes, whatever you need to do, because there's just no other industry where you can make six figures and higher this quickly without some kind of an initiation period. There's just not. Think
yeah.
of this as your med school or your law school. And it's a phenomenal, it's a way better career to me than that. And you can't expect it's going to just in 3 months. You're gonna It takes a while. You can sell your first deal in 2 months. You can close on your first transaction in 30 days. That's not a business. You need to, it takes a while to get momentum, to get stability, to get predictability, to get consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. The statistic that is always was brought up is like, if you prospect and look for business consistently, right? By year 3 to 5, depending on how consistent you are, but by year 3 to 5, you start to just have repeat business. You know what I mean? Your
Yeah,
referrals and everything else
I
starts
would
to come
think
back
so.
to you
Yeah.
if you're set up properly.
Yeah. That sounds about right, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I,
Yeah.
I think that the consistency part, I think, is probably the hardest for agents.
Oh, it is the
And
hardest. It's hardest for
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. Because if you're anything like me, I know I have ADD, but I'm 53, so they never said I had ADD, right? Like it was sit down and shut up in the 80s. You know what I mean? But I think of ADD as my superpower. So,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
yeah. And I think in this business, you almost have to have it because you get pulled in so many directions. You've got buyers, you've got sellers, you've got title, you've got mortgage, you've got all these people, and you're the conductor of the band, right? You're
That's right.
putting all these things together and you're the conductor of the band. So you have to be able to switch gears and move around. To your point, this is hard, right? Like this is a hard business. It's not for everybody, right? I've
Yeah.
talked people out of doing it, right? Like,
Oh, for sure.
I don't know if this is for you or not.
Oh, for sure. Me too. Yeah, me too. And I love it. And anyone can do it. To be clear, it's not that it's rocket science hard. It's hard for people to get outside of their comfort zone, and it's hard for people to be disciplined and consistent, like you said, and do things today they don't want to do to get what they want tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I again, it's the biggest thing I think that agents probably struggle with. And team leaders, again, that's the other part too. Like a lot of times we see, oh, there's, such and such as a team leader and they've got a really successful team. And I want to be that person. And you can be, but you have to understand what that person went through over the last 20 years to be able to do what they're doing now. You know what I mean? We've seen super, super successful agents all over the country, all over the world, start a team and fail,
Yeah,
and
all the
not be
time.
good at it,
Mhm. Yeah,
and not be
all the
good at it.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah, most
how it,
people shouldn't have a real estate team. And to be honest with you, most people shouldn't have one. Most people should be on one and not have one. And that said, you don't know till you try, and you don't know until you're in really good proximity with really talented people. There's nothing I have in my life that doesn't have a partner. So I have recognized really early where my strengths are, where my weaknesses are. I shouldn't have anything on my own. I have a certain skill set. Liam Neeson, I have a certain skill set, but I have a certain
and I
skill
will
set.
find you and I will
And
kill you.
I know, I know, I know. No, that's not mine. But, I'm not saying that as a negative thing. I'm just saying that, it's rare to have all of the traits necessary to run a, 5, 10, 15, $20 million revenue business, which is what some of the large real estate teams are. And, all I'm saying is that, really think it through, really think about what the outcome is you want for your life. Is it income? Is it impacting other people's lives? Are you sure you want to do it through a real estate team? I mean, there's a lot of other ways. Real estate teams are hard. There's a lot of other ways to make money. And I also love them. And that's all I coach. So, I love them and I'm a big fan of them. And I also recognize if it were easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know?
a lot of team leaders that I know that are running very successful teams now, this is like their third try at it. They've closed two others before they got to
Yeah.
where they're at
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
And I feel like it sometimes we learn from our mistakes to, circle
Hmm.
100% back to where we started with this conversation.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
just have to sometimes just do it and
Yeah.
figure it out
For
along
sure.
the way,
For
and
sure.
figure it
Yeah.
out along
For
the way.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So where do
Yeah.
you see this market going in the next year? Like, where do you see a big shift in real estate?
I think we're seeing it now with some of the things that we're talking about. Uh, I'm just One of the things that I see happening is probably flatness. I don't know that I see a major, economic change either way, which, could be construed as good, could be construed as bad. I'm certainly not an economist, but I try to listen to as many of them as possible. The big change is already happening, which is that we used to be the first call from a seller. When a seller wanted to sell their home, we were the first call. We are now the last opinion after 6 or 7 things. So the big fundamental shift that is happening as we speak is that they are now interacting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things. I said it before, Zillow, ChatGPT, Claude, some rando real estate agents estimating home valuation tool that has really good SEO, right? They're reading blogs. They're on YouTube. We talked about that. They're requesting cash offers. They might be meeting with various iBuyers. They might be meeting with investors, with wholesalers. I mean, there's so many things they're potentially doing. Then they talk to a real estate agent. So what does that mean for us? What it means for us is that we have to learn how to sell and convert in a totally different role. And that means we have to learn multiple exits and multiple tools now. We just can't be a one-trick pony anymore. We can't just be, okay, my job is to show up with a sign in your yard. I list your home, that's it. We have to have 2 to 3 different types of listing programs. We have to have, we're going to meet you where you are. This is our as-is investor listing program, all the way up to the traditional fix and flip. We're going to spend time and money and stage it and have aerial photos and the whole thing, right? We need to learn how to work with iBuyers. If we don't already, we need to learn how to work with investors, potentially wholesalers. We have to learn how to meet them where they're at, because we've just never seen such an informed consumer. We've never seen a consumer that has tax data. They have comps. They know comparables. They get on ChatGPT and Cloud now and get a CMA. So we have to come in and learn how to convert in that role. And most of the traditional old school training was like, they're going to list, they want to list their home. They're going to call you. Here's your listing presentation, memorize this and go present it. It's just not the future. It's not where we are. Right. So that's the biggest shift I see. And we are in it now.
Yeah. 100%. I just had a meeting with a client today, and I said, the funny thing is clients today have more information at their fingertips than they've ever had before. Ever. It's not necessarily correct information, but it's information which they assume is correct. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
If I get my home valuation from ChatGPT, I assume it's correct. It may or may not be correct, but I'm assuming it is because Chat told me so. and
totally.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. And I feel like the lead sources or the teams or whoever gets in front of that, right? That's going to be the ones that are going to be the industry changers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then it's, how do you get in front of that?
Well, I mean, I think that is it. And I think that, the other antidote to what I was just saying is you have to learn how to convert in that position and we talked about this earlier too, you have to get there when they're in that original, talking and interacting to the 6 or 7 entities. The other option is to get there then. And that's where social media can help. When you become an expert and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, on all of that, you win. I think about a great agent. His name's Ken Posick. And he started publishing videos in Orlando about living in Orlando. He moved there from Detroit, from your neck of the woods. Yeah. And way at the beginning, he was like an OG YouTuber, right? And he just started with a challenge with himself. He's like, I'm going to do 1 video a day on my iPhone. And they were really bad videos, right? They weren't good, And then they got really good. He now, I don't know, is he a $300 million team, 400? He's a massive team now. And all of his clients just come straight inbound into them because they own so much content. So anybody in that initial phase that we just talked about, if they're going to relocate to Orlando, right? They are 100% going to come on and stumble on Ken's videos. And so when they're in that whole process, I didn't add that in, but I could add into that process. I talked about Chat, GPT, I talked about Zillow, I talked about cash offer. I should have added, researching the area, because what Ken did is he got in there before they actually contacted an agent. So he's now usurping every other agent in his market area because now they know him and like him and they're calling him before. Does that make sense? So yeah. He just inserted himself in that whole beginning phase. So, I do think that, and then learning how to be the closer and the converter once they've explored all of those other options is the other thing we have to do. These are totally different skill sets. And, it's why if you get on my social media, it's all I talk about.
Yeah.
Is like, how to do it and whatnot, because I recognize that there's a gap in our training and that our training was designed for an old school way of doing things.
Yeah. And we are not doing things old school anymore.
No, for sure.
This is a whole new digital world. And again, AI is not going to replace us, right? the agents who aren't using it, the agents aren't using the tools that are out there. Those are the ones that are going to be in trouble. Are the ones
Yeah.
that aren't utilizing the tools at their fingertips. And
Yeah, for sure.
to your point, like the YouTube thing, there's so many, because it's an age thing, right? Like I'm 53. I'm not going to YouTube to find a real estate agent. I'm old school. I'm gonna, I'm just gonna call
But
somebody.
you might go to YouTube if you were going to move to Naples and you wanted to start learning about Naples. You might go onto YouTube and say, I want to learn about what are the better neighborhoods in Naples. And then some great real estate agent might come up. And then after watching, because I told you at the beginning, if someone watches 7 hours of content, they'll buy anything from you. After 2 or 3 hours of content, you would be surprised who you might call, even as an agent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah, you're right. Again, staying top of mind, and being that neighborhood expert that everybody becomes that familiar face. It's not about your picture on a bench anymore, right? On the bus bench.
Yeah,
It's
right.
How can I get the hundreds of thousands of people and get my name in front of hundreds of thousands of people? So there's a lot to unpack there. So So we're definitely in a digital world, right? Like this is you're in Seattle, I'm in Detroit. We're doing this on the morning. Like this is we've gone. That's one of the things I always joke about the COVID thing, right? It just sped this up so much that even my 80-year-old mom is on Zoom. You know what I mean? Like she's on Facebook all the time. Like so it's funny how it sped all that up, because now everybody's getting so much information at such time. And you're right, clients are going to social media, they're going to YouTube, they're going to chat or Claude, whatever one they're using, and they're trying to just find more information because they want to be educated in this decision of buying or selling a house. They don't want to just call their local real estate agent. They want to know the best. They're trying to get the most information to put them in the best financial situation possible. So it's important for you as the agent to be that person that's out there.
Yeah, for sure. And so, there's a lot of things to think about. I actually think it's a really great environment for a new agent right now, because they're going to come into this understanding a whole new way of behaving and thinking and doing and being. And, they're not going to have some of our old hangups, that some of us have. I mean, we were in a very different role. We used to control all the information. We have just gone through a metamorphosis of a consumer. It's crazy what we've gone through for those of us who have been in real estate 20, 25 years. It's nuts. And so, for a new agent listening, it's actually a really great time for you to be getting into real estate, I think.
I think you're right. And I think that agents that are coming in now, if they learn how to get in front of, because they're coming in with the social media, right? If you're 20, 22, 23 years old, like you've got this social media thing down, right? Like that's how they grew up. I didn't grow up that way. Like we didn't grow up like that. We grew up knocking on doors and talking to people, right?
Yeah.
And getting the one to try to get as many people as we possibly could.
Yeah.
So
all true.
Yeah. So we're shifting a little bit into this digital world. What's the biggest piece of advice you have for team leaders right now?
For team leaders, get really solid on your sources of business and what your conversion code is, the unique thing that you and your team does. Get really clear on how many pieces of business each agent can get per source of business, and get really good at delivering a program and delivering what you say you're going to deliver. So if you have 3 or 4 primary sources of business, define them, understand what the numbers are, track them, and be sure that you just have a clear understanding of how many leads are going per agent per month, what they can convert, that you're inspecting what you expect, so that you are looking at, what their conversion numbers are. You have accountability in place. And I'm just seeing a lot of teams losing a lot of agents right now who are not staying on top of it. They're either over promising, under delivering, or there's just no monitoring of it, right? The other thing I would say to a team leader is, get really good at delivering value to your agents prospecting, like we talked about earlier. So, giving value to their sphere and giving value to things that they're doing in their own activities, like prospecting, open houses, and how you can support them. Think about what you can do for them. And all of that makes great recruiting and great retention. So using all of that in your recruiting is great. I actually, I'm just about to start some recruiting ads again, but I did some a few months ago. You basically using our leads, right? Because I just know the numbers and I know how many leads per agent and what converts and whatnot. And it's way easier to recruit to specific things like that than it is broad general statements. I have an ICP, I have an avatar, so I write my recruiting ads to that person, and in large part I get that person. So just getting really clear and specific is the way to go right now as a team leader. Getting clear and specific on your lead sources, on who you're recruiting, who your ideal agent is, who your ideal consumer is, buyer and seller. Getting specifics. I did a whole 1-hour call for the Cheplak coaches on all the call was getting specific, getting so specific in your business that it feels a little crazy. That's my biggest advice.
I love it. I love it. Well, Vija, I appreciate you joining us this morning. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So where can everybody find you?
Yeah, the easiest is via Instagram. So my name is spelled Vija. The J is like a Y. So my Instagram is funny. It's VIAVIJA. Kind of a funny little thing. Or Facebook, LinkedIn, Vija@realty.com, all the above.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Well, Vija Williams, Chief Growth Officer with realty.com, and plethora of other things, titles in there, but I appreciate your time this morning and joining us. And I know everybody's going to get a lot out of this. I thank you guys for joining us. Find us everywhere you find podcasts, the EliteEdgeNetwork.com, Elite Edge Network on YouTube. You can find us there. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.